President James K. Polk and his involvement in Mexico. Brief history. President Polk was the 11th President of the United States. President James Polk also ran as an unexpected Democratic candidate who created a wave of support with his adamant drive to annex Texas. His primary point of political contention involved the Republic of Texas, which after declaring independence from Mexico in 1836 had asked to join the United States. President Polk was also known as the Manifest Destiny President for his desire to expand the country's territory westward. In terms of Manifest Destiny, he also wanted to acquire some or all of Oregon country, which consisted of present-day Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and British Columbia. He also wanted to acquire new territories and lands, such as California and New Mexico, from Mexico. In doing so, he wanted to keep the balance and interests of the North and South. Manifest Destiny. The picture on the left is a depiction of the idea of manifest destiny, showing that the United States desired for westward expansion. In doing so, they believed that they had the divine right to expand their lands. On the right is a map of the territories that the United States wanted to acquire or had acquired already. Manifest Destiny continued. Manifest Destiny played a crucial role in President Polk's involvement in Mexico because of his idea that it was a divine right to move westward no matter what costs. In terms of Manifest Destiny, the term was a 19th century American belief that the United States was destined to expand across the continent. It was used by Democrat Republicans in the 1840s to justify the war with Mexico. John O. Sullivan coined the term Manifest Destiny, stating, "Our manifest destiny to overspread the continent allotted by providence of the free development of our yearly multiplying millions." In doing so, Manifest Destiny emphasized three ideals. Number 1, the virtue of the American people and their institutions. Number 2, the mission to spread these institutions, thereby redeeming and remaking the world in the image of the U.S. Number 3, the destiny under God to do His work. The idea of manifest destiny defined the presidency of James Polk and led to the cession of the land in the western United States. The belief that the United States basically had a God-given right to occupy and civilize the whole continent gained favor as more and more Americans settled the western lands. The fact that most of these areas already had people living upon them was usually ignored. With the attitude that democratic English-speaking America, with its high ideals and Protestant Christian ethics, would do a better job of running things than the Native Americans or Spanish-speaking Catholic Mexicans. What led to the Mexican-American War? President James Polk was widely believed to have started the Mexican-American War after he claimed the Rio Grande River as the border of the United States. Mexico, of course, did not like the idea of its breakaway province becoming an American state, and the undefined and contested border now became a major international issue. Texas, and now the United States, claimed the border at the Rio Grande River, but Mexico claimed territory as far north as the Nueces River. Both nations sent troops to enforce the competing claims, and a tense standoff ensued. On April 25, 1846, a clash occurred between Mexican and American troops on soil claimed by both countries. The war had begun. John Slidell was sent to Mexico City by President Polk with a $25 million offer for territory consisting of the Rio Grande in addition to Santa Fe, Mexico, and Alta California. Basically, John Slidell was sent as a broker to purchase the lands. After claiming Texas, President Polk sent 3,500 troops to defend the new territory of Texas, which provoked the Mexican military to attack. Next slide. What led to the Mexican-American War? Mexico rejected the idea of the United States annexing the new area to the United States, which further stressed relations with the United States. Mexico has passed the boundary of the United States, has invaded our territory, and shed American blood upon American territory, by President Polk. General Zachary Taylor entered territory that was conflicted between the United States and Mexico. The Nueces River was also an area of conflict. In addition, in 1836, the treaties of Velasco versus General Lorenzo Clamon was another contributor to what led to the Mexican-American War. Two documents were signed at Velasco, Texas, between Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna of Mexico and the Republic of Texas, in the aftermath of the Battle of San Jacinto. These treaties were intended on the part of Texans to provide a conclusion of hostilities between two belligerents and offer the first steps towards the official recognition of the breakaway republic's independence. Yet both treaties were not considered ratified until Polk characterized them as treaties in his justifications for war later on. Lastly, what also led to the Mexican-American War. The Thornton Affair. The Thornton Affair, also known as Thornton's Skirmish or Thornton's Defeat, was the battle between the military forces of the United States and Mexico. It served as the primary justification for United States President James K. Polk's declaration of war against Mexico in 1846, sparking the Mexican-American War. Nowadays, the affair is vastly overlooked, with most people considering the Battle of Palo Alto as the first engagement in war. The Rio Grande Nueces River confrontation. In addition, President Polk and General Zachary Aaron Taylor, which meant President Polk ordered General Taylor and his forces south to the Rio Grande River, entering the territory that Mexicans disputed. But Mexico claimed land to the Nueces River, which is about 150 miles north of the Rio Grande, as its border with Texas. The U.S. claimed it was the Rio Grande, citing the 1836 treaties of Velasco, but Mexico, however, under the leadership of General Lorenzo Clamon, rejected the treaties and refused to negotiate. It claimed all of Texas as its own. Taylor ignored Mexicans' demands to withdraw to the Nueces. He constructed a fort, also later known as Fort Brown, on the banks of the Rio Grande River opposite the city of Matamoros, Tamaulipas. Mexican forces under General Mariano Arista prepared for war. On April 25, 1846, a 2,000-strong Mexican cavalry detachment attacked a 70-man U.S. patrol that had been sent into the contested territory north of the Rio Grande and south of the Nueces River. The Mexican cavalry routed the patrol, killing 16 U.S. soldiers in what later became known as the Thornton Affair, after Captain Thornton, who was in command. Manifest Destiny, which was also reiterated, was technically speaking of the expansions of land the United States wanted. Texas was also a conflict ground due to the annexation in 1845. Lastly, the Mexican-American War. In 1846, President Polk declared war with the support of Congress. Faced with the likelihood that Texas would be lost forever, the Mexican government deposed its president and refused to negotiate with U.S. broker John Slidell, who had been sent as an in-between for purchasing of lands for the United States from Mexico. When a U.S. patrol was attacked between the Nueces and Rio Grande River, the U.S. declared war on Mexico on May 13, 1846. But the first major battle had already taken place between May 3rd and May 9 at Fort Texas at Brownsville on the Rio Grande. Due to the Mexican government not recognizing the annexation of Texas in 1845, this caused major tension between the two nations. Mexico surrendered after many casualties were obtained during the war. The Mexican-American War led to the fear and loathing of the United States faced by the Mexican citizens for the future confrontations in Mexico. 4 ideas prelude to the Mexican-American War. Number 1. Texan annexation. Mexico had warned it would regard annexation as an act of war when it took place, but Mexico did not declare war yet until it broke diplomatic relations. Number 2. Boundary dispute. Regardless of its status, the United States maintained that the southern border of Texas was formed by the Rio Grande, but Mexico argued that the traditional boundary was the Nueces River farther north. Number 3. The California question. President Polk clearly wanted to expand the country to the Pacific Ocean by taking control of California and lands in the Southwest. This was a primary example of the prevailing idea and mentality of manifest destiny. Number 4. Monetary claims against Mexico. The United States had extracted a promise from the Mexican government to pay $3 million to cover the claims of American citizens who had lost property during turmoil and revolution. But Mexico defaulted on those payments, and the American creditors pressed their government for action. Depicted in the map above also demonstrates the Nueces River versus the Rio Grande River, in which the United States and Mexico wanted to establish the border. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The United States and Mexico ended the war with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. The United States gained present-day Arizona, California, Texas, New Mexico, and parts of Utah, Colorado, and Nevada. Mexico was offered $15 million for these territories, and further debts owed to the United States would be assumed. The treaty also stated that all of the Mexican citizens living in these regions would be allowed to keep all of their wealth and land. However, many lost some to all of their wealth regardless.